Kia ora team, Noel Willoff here, host of the Beyond the Surface podcast. Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. But before we get started, I've noticed that over 93% of you watching on YouTube do not subscribe. So if you are enjoying the content and these conversations, please make sure you go hit subscribe on the button below. Also, before we get started, please go check out our official sponsor of the podcast, Moana Road. They've got a whole range of awesome products available at the website. So go check them out in the link in the description below to help us reach more of the guests on that you love. Tait bro, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First podcast as well.
Yeah, first podcast. A little bit nervous, but should be good.
Cool.
Get out of my comfort zone a bit.
That's massive, man. And you've done like a bit of radio stuff. I saw you on were you on News Talk ZB once?
Oh yeah. Got on the Mark Hosking for a few seconds there.
You've made it. You made the conversation with the host.
Pretty good one, eh? Yeah, that was a little while back though. So I think I've lost my media training.
Well, hope your debut podcast goes well, bro.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Privileged to have you on your first one.
No,
so you've started like 4 cafes before you turned 30 with Swimsuit. That's crazy, dude. Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good considering the environment that we've been in for the last 5 years. We probably opened it in one of the worst timings, just with the pandemic and stuff. But I guess like after I opened the first shop when I was 24, the goal kind of changed to do 3 by 30. That was kind of the goal. And yeah, we managed to achieve it with kind of a year to spare, which is quite cool. Yeah.
Where did the goal and the drive to have at least 3 by the time you were 30 come from? Like, where did that push come from?
Yeah, I think it would have been in my first flat. I think I was the only one working full time, and all my other mates were going to uni, and it kind of got to a point where they were graduating and starting to kind of like move into kind of different realms of kind of the industries that they're looking into. And so for me, I just felt like, I wasn't saving money. I was still working kind of like a wage job and coffee, and there's not like a huge amount of
progression
progression for it. So I was kind of getting a little bit frustrated there because you need, for me, my kind of idea of being able to open a cafe means that you have to have money to do that. And so I kind of had a chat to someone, and they were like, if you've got the idea, then the money will follow if you talk to the right people and stuff like that. So that kind of changed the mindset a little bit to more like, I actually probably could try and look into this a bit. And so I guess the reason we've been wanting to grow is because I guess we started it with nothing in a way. And so it was just more pushing the limits and seeing how far we could take it while we were young and had the energy to do it. So it's been a big kind of busy slog, but we're happy with where we're at. And yeah, I guess, a lot of this nothing's been planned, it's all just been kind of popped up here and there. And yeah, we couldn't have done it without the team and the kind of the crew around us to get to where we're at, and it's not, it's still definitely a long road to go. We have been in this growth phase, which means that you don't really get a lot of spending money to do other things. So yeah, it's just been reinvesting and kind of knuckling down and just trying to get the brand set up, really. Can't wait to get into it, man. Like, I've been an avid, what would you call it, customer at Swimsuit for many years. So looking forward to getting into like the ins and outs of the business and sort of setting it up and scaling. I think just circling back to what you mentioned earlier around that sort of feeling where, your mates were sort of plowing forward with university degrees, sort of finding their niche within their respective industry. Like, what was driving that sort of thought process for you around that frustration? Was it a feeling of not sort of keeping up, or a bit of fear of missing out? Yeah, I think it was initially it was a bit of a fear of getting behind, and not being able to kind of achieve the things that I wanted to achieve at the same kind of level as my friends and mates at the time. So it was it was quite, sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Like, so you felt like you were, not sort of keeping up with your mates.
Yeah, for sure. And like for me, that at school I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Neither was I, man.
Yeah, it was like I really they were trying to kind of get me onto courses and stuff like that. So it was I never got offered university at school, and so it was quite, I guess, the transition from going from school to full-time work, I didn't really notice it until about 6 months after working full-time, and then going like, oh, this is like me now, I'm now working full-time, I'm not at school, and now it's like I'm kind of out here having to fend for myself, so you've got to kind of find that motivation to kind of, I guess, keep pushing. And for me at that point in time, like the only skill that I knew I was good at was making coffee, and so I just kind of thought, like, let's push this a bit and see kind of how far we can take it. And so, and then we kind of just got, I talked to some mentors and stuff like that, got some people involved, and then, it was just a mindset shift. I never in my mind kind of had the idea that I could open a cafe. I didn't think I was really capable of it. And again, that came down to me just not having good money savings behind me and stuff like that. So it was pretty awesome to kind of just see where we could take it, and then eventually like it came to fruition. I guess like a big part of it was when I first got into coffee. A family friend of mine came up to me and was like, "Oh, if you ever want to open your own cafe, you come have a chat to us." And so I think it was 6 years maybe later. Well, I went
hit them up?
I went and knocked on their door.
Nice. What do they do? Are they like connected in the industry or?
No, not really. They're just they're close family friends of mine, and like they're quite business orientated. They're quite good at kind of just that whole realm, because I came from a practical background. All I knew what to do was to make good coffee, but that business side of it was completely new for me. So being able to get someone like that to help me with the bank, to help me with like, getting things set up was super handy. And it was awesome that they still kind of said yes kind of years later after saying it. I don't know if they knew that I was going to remember it. But
they're like, oh man, this guy's coming back.
Yeah,
no, I'm sure they would have been stoked to
and they really kicked it off and kind of helped me get to the point. And then reached out to Welly, my now
Your business partner.
Reached out to him because we were both at Mojo before that, and I was like, hey, might have this like potential opportunity kind of thing. So it was cool to get him to jump over, and just felt it out for a year before we decided to if it was going to work well.
That's super interesting, man. And I think just as you're talking, it's just like reflecting back to me how like the education system just isn't cut out to like so many entrepreneurs and so many like young people. Like the fact that throughout school, maybe you didn't do so well like academically, but the fact that your school didn't provide you probably like with enough support that made you feel just like empowered about your future. Because from my understanding, you went and you got through like a sort of coffee like barista training course through school, and then you sort of like applied to get a job at Mojo, or was that before then and they actually declined you?
No, so it's an interesting thing with the school one, because academically I didn't do well, but a careers teacher kind of saw me struggling a bit and put me on a coffee course, and that's kind of where my passion for coffee kind of grew.
Shout out to that careers teacher, eh?
We put in a lot of effort into kind of like helping me out a bit there, and it was super cool to see. And like when I was at school doing all those career related subjects, it was not really like the cool subject to do, but I did all of them. I did career planning, gateway, I did tourism, I did just these subjects, I guess, which were kind of helping me out because I knew that I wasn't going to uni. And so this gateway one was super interesting for me because I applied for jobs at Mojo and then didn't get the job. And then,
that's so funny.
And so then instead I was like, all right, well, I'll do it through Gateway and work there for free for a day a week instead of going to school. And essentially got offered a job like after the first kind of shift there, which was cool. And then that kind of just sparked my passion for hospital and coffee. So yeah, it was an interesting one with school because I didn't do well academically wise, but at the same time, a teacher there did make me discover like what I was looking for, which was kind of hospitality.
That's kind of like the ideal outcome, because you hear so much like school career counselors just being quite shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's a bit of a success story, to be honest.
Yeah, and the careers department like are super stoked with kind of the example that this is kind of made. Like there's like a kind of a coffee kind of school kind of thing there now, and they're really starting to up the careers side of stuff, which is really cool to see because uni's not for everyone.
No.
And especially if you're trying to figure it out straight after school, I feel like it's quite rushed. So it's nice to have like different kind of avenues of more practical things for people to kind of explore.
And what made you fall in love with coffee, bro? Like what part of the process made you like an avid coffee lover?
It was just all of it at the start, Like I just couldn't get enough of it all. Like when I was at Mojo, it was great because like Mojo had a roastery, they had a tech department, they had cafes, they had like management and stuff like that. And so for me, because I was so into it, they could see that and they like let me kind of dabble in everything. So like I could do a little bit of tech work, fixing some machines or do some roasting or so it was kind of like I just wanted to get a piece of it all, and I guess it's changed a little bit now just because it's now it's more so the business and the coffee and everything in between. So it's interesting, but I think it's like a big thing for me. It was trying to figure out that why I do it and stuff like that, and like it's for me, I think it's about the experience. So like what I love seeing is like a full cafe where everyone's got their coffees, everyone's got the waters on the table, and everyone's just enjoying the space and having a good time. It's just like one of the best feelings to kind of see. And so coffee for me is just like a way of like providing someone that kind of experience, I guess. And so I think that was where I figured it out, which is what I'm into, is providing experience. And like coffee was a really good way for me to kind of show that. Yeah.
That's a cool way to picture it, bro. Because it's like coffee's the facilitator and like swimsuits like the facilitator for people to come together, have conversations, run meetings, be productive, have a good time. It's almost like that sort of gateway drug to those things.
It is, and it's like super important in everyone, in a lot of people's lives. It's a third home for a lot of people. People talk to us about all their life kind of things, and it's a super interactive job, and we can make or break people's days, which is can be quite full on, but it's also like super rewarding. And I don't know, it's just like it's kind of an integral part of New Zealand kind of culture, I think.
Coffee does play a real huge role. I'm a massive coffee consumer myself, and my partner was like, "You're addicted." I was like, "Nah, watch this. I'll do a month no coffee." And I did it. I thought I'd get like, you hear people having like withdrawal symptoms and getting cold sweats, headaches, just like crackhead sort of energy. But I seem to be okay. But like picking up what you're saying around the social side of things, I felt like the hardest bit was sort of socially, because like at work, a lot of the team would like catch up and grab coffee. And then you're ordering like a hot chocolate and you just doesn't feel right.
Doesn't quite have it.
They're like, "Do you want a hot chocolate?" Then they're like, "Do you want marshmallows?" And you don't really want to say yes, but you're like, "Of course I want marshmallows."
No,
as a grown man.
No, it's definitely it's interesting, and that's kind of why you've got to be, I mean, in this point in time, like you've got to be getting a bit more creative with your offering and stuff like that, because I mean, there are trends moving around towards like matcha or what else is trending? Kombucha had a bit of a wave there.
True.
I think it's kind of maybe had its dash, but you got to try and figure out which ones people are into. I think matcha is going to be around to stick around for a while. We're bringing it out very soon.
Nice.
Just finalizing that recipe.
Babe.
But it does make it hard if you don't drink coffee, for sure.
100%. Yeah, you're a bit of an outlier in society. Are you like a 2 to 3 coffee a day kind of guy? How many? What's your maximum, bro?
I actually only have one.
True.
Yeah,
It's surprising,
yeah.
actually.
I have one in the morning, and then I'll maybe just sip away on a few just to taste them throughout the day.
Mhm.
But I've become quite sensitive to caffeine recently, which is interesting. It's also, it affects my appetite. So yeah, if I'm having a coffee first thing in the morning, then it will kind of affect my appetite for the day. So I need to be a bit better with like getting some food and then coffee and then, that kind of stuff. So
as you get older, eh? Yeah, you're 30 now, mate. It's
no, it's rough out here. Yeah, I'm gonna be on single shots in no time.
So talk to me a bit more about, you touched on it earlier, like that decision to actually go all in with Swimsuit. Like, what was that catalyst moment where you were like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it?
The catalyst moment would have been at a 121 gig at Avalon Studios where Fat Freddy's Drop was playing.
Sick.
And I was in there boogieing with a few mates, and then two of my mates like pulled me aside in the dance kind of pit and was like, "Hey bro, I think you should open your own cafe. Like, I think it's about time." And I guess that was just kind of like, oh, true. And then that was kind of where I switched and then started, calling people up next day being like, hey, like, what do I do?
Yeah, where do you start?
Yeah. So that was kind of the catalyst. And I guess after that, I reached out to he used to be the GM of People's Coffee, Sean, reached out to him. And then, he kind of sat me down, gave me a few, ideas around what to do and stuff like that. And then, kind of gave me a bit of a good direction to kind of work on. And then, I guess the way Swimsuit started though was because I went to because I put kind of the word out that I was going to open my own spot. So I had an interview at a spot to kind of help set up a coffee shop there. And it just didn't go as great as what I thought. And so I left that meeting quite frustrated. And then I walked past Memphis Bell at the time that was there, saw Johnny, the old owner, and he kind of caught me at a point where I was wanting to vent. So I kind of was like, I'm just wanting to have my own spot and I can't find it and blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of turned to me and was like, oh, I'm actually trying to get rid of my spot. And so I guess, because that spot there, that was the spot where I'd walk past it every day and go, damn, if I had that spot, I could, it would be awesome.
Wow.
And so that happened. And then that was the point where I was like, all right, let's see if I can make this work. Yeah. And so it took a little bit of time to get it there, but we got there. And then I guess because when you open something with not much cash, we had to get it open pretty quick. So we did the whole fit out in like 19 days.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. So
you've just been living in there, eh?
Yeah, pretty much. But it was a bit of like a extreme makeover, right? I had I had so many mates coming through, helping out, painting,
awesome.
Just getting the place set up. So it was like an awesome kind of thing to see, just everyone coming together to kind of get this over the line.
Far out.
Yeah.
Move that bus.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. On the day that we did the friends and family night, we were still like putting things up while people were arriving. And
crazy.
Yeah, so it was definitely a race against the clock.
So what's the reality like setting up a cafe where you don't have like massive like liquid cash to begin with?
Yeah.
Like, can you speak around what that reality looks like? Do you have to get like a sort of mortgage, get some money lent from the bank? Did you get some investors to come in?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
So essentially I had like $1,000.
Yeah. It's a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah. So I went to the family friends, that were there, and I was kind of like, well, I want to do this, but the bank won't lend unless I get this kind of money together. And so essentially they kind of got a bit of the equity and put forward some money so that the bank would then accept the loan.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then that equity, they had the equity, and then after a couple of years we ended up paying them out. And then we got, because they were great, but they weren't in hospitality. So it was just like to get us started. And then once that happened, we got kind of a new person on board to help us out with a bit more of the growth side, who has a bit more experience in hospo. Yeah. So they've kind of come on to help us out with a bit of the growth side, just because banks aren't really lending to hospo at the moment, and if they are, it's very hard to get.
Yeah.
So we could see an opportunity through COVID, and we were pretty keen to try and jump on that.
Yeah.
And so having someone that could kind of see that vision
and
back us for that was pretty ideal.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's been a lot of paying back debt, a lot of, you know, long-term kind of trucking. Like, I mean, you know, we're still, I mean, with, you know, like profit's still a goal for us, you know what I mean? And I mean, we're not saying that, you know, we're in a growth stage, so a lot of it is being reinvested, but we are keen to start seeing a bit of that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely keen as well to start to like getting into just the reality of running a hospo business. Like, what are the margins like? And because, my mum used to own a cafe growing up, and unfortunately lost it during the 2008 global financial crisis. And like the one piece of advice she gave me was like, never open a cafe, son. That's what she said. So, I'll be keen a bit later to sort of pick your brain around what are the challenges in hospo, but also like those opportunities. So you opened that site in Dixon, bro, February 2019. That was about 10 weeks before like the Omicron sort of like COVID sort of outbreak.
It started getting talked about. And then I think it was like October that year, November. Oh, actually, no, it was a bit later actually, because we were Rhythm and Vine. So we opened February, and I think at the end of that year, so about 10 months later, that's when all that kind of stuff started popping off.
Crazy.
And then we like, I remember we were at the 121 festival doing the coffee there for it, and then that's when like all the borders were shutting down and stuff. And it was just a crazy time, because I mean, I was, you know, Welly and I were 24, having to figure out, like everyone else, what was going on. And so it was quite hard. It was a little bit full on there, because I mean, the team wasn't as big as what we have now, which was kind of lucky in a way. It was quite a close-knit team as well, so that in that respect, it was good that we only had kind of the one shop. But it was definitely a lot of unknowns, a lot of kind of stress. Like the lockdown part was nice, but also quite like, what's going to happen? Lots of, you know, talking to landlords, banks and stuff, trying to organize kind of holds on rents and stuff like that. So it was just kind of having to step up and get on top of it before you get too behind or get in trouble by not paying bills or stuff like that. So it was hard, and then we had to try and figure out a way of keeping engaged with the customers and stuff like that. And then when it got to like level 3 or level 2, we didn't want to like say, hey, everyone come back to the cafes, you know, because it was
super spreader.
So it was kind of like, hey, we want people to come back, but also I don't want to say, hey, everyone just come back, you know. Like it was quite a hard thing to balance, especially and then like the staff as well, having to deal with the whole the vaccine stuff and the masks and the cafe. It was tough. It was tough, for sure. So it was quite a full on time, but the team did super well with it, and we got through it.
I think if you can survive through like COVID lockdowns as a business, you can probably take on anything. So.
And I mean, there was a cool thing there where they did like you could buy vouchers in advance and stuff like that, and so that helped us out a lot through that as well. It was cool to see the community just like really coming together for a day. And I don't think people quite expected how late we'll be seeing the consequences of it. Like you're only really just starting to see these hospo businesses now kind of starting to kind of struggle. So it's been a I'm still waiting for that smooth year, essentially.
True.
It's coming, man. But we're hoping that there will be one in the future.
It'll come up. So talk to me about a bit behind like the vision of Swimsuit, because, you know, you walk in there and it was very similar to how you're describing like the role of coffee. Like, glasses of water are full. People are like just having a good time. There's like a sort of retro, warm sort of feel and vibe to it. You've always got like sick tunes pumping.
For sure.
Talk to me a little bit about like the experience and like that you're seeking to create with Swimsuit, and like how intentional that was.
So I mean, I guess I worked at Lamison before Swimsuit, and that was a great spot. It was specialty coffee. Got to it with the owner operator. That was after I worked at Mojo. So so Mojo was kind of like get my coffee knowledge up, and then I went to Lamison because I wanted to work next to someone who ran the business, and that went really well. Actually, it was an awesome time there, and essentially. What I was noticing is that like these specialty coffee shops were quite like intimidating to walk into for some people. I'm not saying everyone got intimidated, but like for people that were a little bit like, ooh, should I go and ask about this coffee, or are they going to think I'm an idiot? You know, we got a bit of that vibe. Also, the traditionally the specialty shops are all quite dark and like a dark wood tone and stuff like that. And so the idea, I guess, around Swimsuit was to soften everything up. Turn it like not like feminine, but we just wanted to like get some color. Like all the edges are curved. We've got color on the walls, which you don't usually see. Like, I mean, some cafes paint it and go colorful, but we just decided to brighten it a bit. And the idea was to just keep that specialty coffee, but get rid of that intimidation factor for people to come in and experience it, which is interesting because now we're quite busy there. It's kind of like people think it's too hip or something, but I think we're still really good with welcoming anyone into the cafe and stuff like that. And so that was kind of the idea. It was to brighten, soften, and like reduce that kind of fear of like not knowing what to say when you order like a specialty coffee, I guess. So that was kind of where it came from.
I think you've nailed that, eh? Because I think there are definitely coffee shops you go into, especially in Welly, and you feel so out of place. You're and sometimes the baristas are like, "Why are you not ordering this like in some fancy like conjunction of like coffee?" And you're like, "Mate, I just want to give me a flat white. Come on."
For sure.
So no, I think you've done a real good job like cultivating that vibe. And I think as well, like, bro, music goes such a far way.
It does.
Like your playlist is always just like popping. So kudos to whoever is the master of that.
Yeah, no, Matt Ranson, his old staff member of ours, he's still kind of headlining it, but we get like a new monthly DJ each month.
Oh, cool.
And they do a new mix for us.
Yeah.
It's just kind of been like a slow burner, that one. We just kind of kept going with it. And it's awesome. Like we get new music every month, and we get to like engage with local DJs and stuff like that. So the vibe's good. And like, I mean, the music's not for everyone for sure. But for majority of the people, they like it. And like, we do definitely play it like, I guess, a bit louder than what other cafes do. But I just feel like that adds to the experience. And like, I don't know. I quite like having a bit of a more high energy vibe.
Gives it like an atmosphere, eh?
Yeah.
How, like, especially in hospital, because you're selling coffees at what, like $5-6,
$6,
and you've got to like churn through quite a lot of them to, I guess, make like a margin, make some profit, pay your staff. Like, what is it with the experience of Swimsuit that encourages people to keep showing up? Because you've got like a pretty cool, unique, I think, community around sort of Swimsuit through like those events that you do. You've got like sometimes live shows. Like what like cultivate, like how do you cultivate a, like more of an engaged community in the hospo scene, bro?
Well, that's something that we're trying to work on at the moment, I think. I think it's because we're quite authentic in a way. People like that we're not like owned by a big kind of corporation and stuff like that. People. Sorry, what was the question again? Like,
how do you cultivate like a community of customers?
For sure. I think it comes down a lot to consistency. It comes down a lot to how the staff treat the customer, and it's a lot of those small things like the sparkling water, the music, the overall vibe. It's an interesting one because we've grown a bit, and like every time I've grown we've opened a shop, someone's said that we're selling out. Or
true, really? Do you get that feedback?
Yeah, a little bit every now and again. Yeah. But it's like, it's just it's interesting because it's like we're not selling out. It's just Willie and I winging it, just like seeing how far we can take things, you know. And so yeah, it's interesting, and like it's worrying sometimes that like you think, oh, if I open this shop here, then everyone's just gonna not cancel, but like everyone will just move on somewhere else because they don't think that that's. But I mean, for me, like Coffee Supreme have done super well at doing that stuff, and they're a big kind of a good company to look at in terms of that because they're huge, but they still do super well at local roots kind of stuff. And so yeah, that's what we're wanting to work on a lot this year, is like to tell more of our story, to show that it is Willie and I and like the team that we've got doing this, and that like we are just winging it. And you know,
people love that, they love local.
Yeah, big time. And so we want to be able to like just kind of show that more in like an authentic way, because we did well at the start, but I guess like as we've grown, like we're not in the cafes as much. People think I'm probably just traveling Europe all year, but I'm not. I'm living at my, the family home, still paying minimal rent because we're still kind of growing. So yeah, there's definitely like there's a assumption there that because we've got 4 cafes, we're doing really well. But it's definitely not the case. Like, I mean, we're doing well in terms of we're still here and we're still operating and we can see a good future. But yeah, we're sacrificing a lot in terms of our personal lives for that. Yeah.
What do you think some of those biggest sacrifices are, bro? Because I think, a lot of people, like you've so accurately like pictured, when we think of entrepreneurs or business owners, it's the glossy lifestyle, going over to Europe, like what you mentioned.
Life,
all of the freedom. And, you came to this podcast saying that, you might have to go back out to the shop and fix like an ice machine later. And it's 8 p.m. on like a Wednesday night at the moment. So, talk, like, what are some of those biggest sacrifices that you've had to make?
Yeah.
Or do you regret any of them?
I don't think so, nah. There is that whole thing around, all your mates go overseas, go to Europe, move to Australia, go and set up overseas. Yeah, just go set up shop somewhere else, essentially, change the scene, stuff like that. We've been pretty locked in on Wellington. So you've had points where you're like, oh, I just wish I could just, check out Australia for 6 months or do that. But I think for me, like the big push was like, okay, if I can just work, I'm used to working. Like I got my first job when I was 11, making ice creams in the ice cream truck.
True.
And they'd pick me up after school and I would go and make ice creams for my mates. So I like to work. And I guess for me, like, because I haven't had, wealth or like any of that kind of stuff, like the idea of having that older is like super kind of motivating, I guess. And for me, it was like, all right, let's sacrifice a bit of this time now so we can hopefully, fingers crossed, have a bit more time later on to be able to like do that kind of stuff. So it's been an interesting one. Like I'm super proud of what we've done, and like I guess for me it's like, all right, well, if I want to go traveling, let's just open a cafe somewhere where I want to go traveling to.
True.
And then that means I can go there. So like that, there's a bit of that going on, but yeah, I don't think I regret anything that we've done. And I'm happy that we're like kind of in a way holding like Wellington down, not like in the sense of like we're the only ones there doing it, but like it's kind of like I find it a good challenge, with all these people saying that Wellington's dying and stuff like that. Like it's like, all right, well, what can we do to pick this up? Because like, I mean, we did that coffee, our birthday party the other week, and it like was popping off. People were having a good time. Like, there is a lot going there, and I do think with cities go up and down. Like there's just waves, and we've just been hitting at the bottom of this wave. And we're going to come back up. It's just a case of when. So I'm excited for Wellington. I think it's going to be cool.
Do you think Wellington's dead? Or has been dead?
No, it's hard, because like it's like Wellington's dying. It's going to get way more clicks than a new coffee shop's opened up down the road. Like there's a lot of that kind of snowballing of people's thoughts going. I feel, I think. Yeah, as I said before, I think the cities go up and down, and I think right now we're in a bit of a reset kind of phase. There's a lot of kind of changes happening in the city, and yeah, I just think like if everyone just bails on it and gives up, then that's just gonna like just keep on going down. Whereas like there is a lot of energized young people in Wellington that are keen to improve the scene, to get into hospital, to do things, you know, to improve the experience of Wellington. And so it's like trying to figure out a way of like enabling these people to come into the industry and like showcase what they can do, you know? Yeah. So I don't think it is. I think it's just a case of, yeah, I think the balance is a little bit hard. Like the rent's quite high risk. People were a little bit cautious around that, especially with the pandemic that just happened. And, you know, so there is a lot of caution around at the moment, but I do feel like once it simmers down, people should start to kind of, you know, put some stuff out and risk a few things.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right around like the clicks and stuff. Like it gets so much media sort of attention. And I mean, fair enough too, because it's without it going to such a political rant, it does seem like, you know, some of those businesses are really struggling for like circumstances so out of their control, and it must be so tough to navigate.
It's like no, for sure. I mean, we've experienced changes around us, like with the car parks going and stuff like that, which, you know, there was a lot of people really, really heated about it, and it was, you know, for me, I'm just big on being neutral on that stuff. Like, I mean, the council's surely done some research around it, whatever. So like, I was kind of like, let's just see how it goes, you know, and it's sweet. It's fine now. Like we've got extra seats and stuff like that. I do think though that there's just some timing, communication things that need to be happening a bit better. Like just getting hit back to back with constant kind of like things that they're doing. It's just like we just need a bit of breathing room just to breathe a little bit, you know. I think that's what was kind of causing a few kind of issues, was just the speed at which things were changing. And so it just wasn't giving people time to catch up from the pandemic. I think it was just kind of straight to the next thing. And people would just say, yo, let's just
simmer down for a bit.
We just need to kind of like figure out what's going on. So I do think, you know, there's good and bad decisions that they make, but I do think that they're getting there.
The slogan, they get in there.
They're getting there.
You could run for mayor, bro. I reckon you'd do a good job.
It's funny you say that, because I've had this like running joke that I was going to run for it in 2034.
True, 2034.
Yeah, and I was
going to hear first.
I was going to do this like, because everyone does these 2 year long or like 1 year campaigns,
if that's even.
So I'm thinking do like an 8 year, be like, yo, I'm running for it in 2034. Once everything simmers down, you know, the council, all the heat's taken off, I'll just jump in there and
it's a big runway. It's a massive runway.
Just have a big head start.
I reckon it's good. I'd vote for you. Do it.
Could be. I think it might be a bit too much for me, but we'll see what happens.
And like, what were some of the, I guess, like hardest learnings for you from being like on the tools making coffees to now being a business owner and like learning that business acumen? Was there any like hard truths you had to acknowledge or look at? Like, what were some of those hardest, steepest parts of the learning curve?
I guess when we first started, like I didn't really do any cash flow and stuff. It was more like, I can make good coffee. They charge it at that price, so I'm going to charge it at that price. And then like, you know, and we'll just do it. And then I would essentially just check the bank account at the end of the day and see if we had enough money to pay wages and stuff like that. So it was pretty like, nothing in the back end there. And then when we got to kind of the second store and like Welly started getting a lot more involved, he's a bit better with the money side of stuff. I would definitely say the money side is quite full on, cash flow. And like now that we're at a point where we've got, you know, 4 cafes in the kitchen and a website, there's a lot going on. You know, we've got 22 staff now.
That's massive, man.
So it's like, it's like been quite interesting for me because I am a barista by trade. I make coffee, but now that we're at this point in the business, you know, it's like I was getting a bit confused there about what my actual role in the company was and stuff like that. So it got quite, it's just been interesting because, you know, because we've been kind of just like seeing what happens, you know, like we didn't have managers at the start, but now we have managers. So that's all kind of new for us. And then, yeah, I guess the job role is just changing all the time in terms of like what I'm actually doing. Yeah. So it's good that we're starting to kind of nail down what that is. So yeah, I guess like for me, it's like I'm trying to find new growth kind of aspects and the brand and stuff like that. And then Welly's quite good with the numbers and stuff like that. I can't really look at a computer screen for too long. I've been locked out of the accounting software because I make too many mistakes. So, yeah, Welly's kind of the one that will figure it out and see if it kind of work. So we work really well because he's quite he's really level headed. And for me, I can get quite can get a bit emotional at times around certain decisions and stuff like that. So it's quite nice to have you know, me that gets quite like, like I want to do this, and then Welly will be like, all right, so let's slow down and like figure out, you know, if it's going to actually work or not. So it's a really good working kind of relationship. But I think I would probably just say it's like, I mean, for us in the growth, it's like I've had a big worry about like I guess the perception of swimsuit as we grow. As I said before, you know, like I don't want people just to kind of like think that we've just sold out and like that I get quite kind of self-conscious around like what people think about it and stuff like that. And so I guess that's kind of like a worry, and that's kind of why we do want to start kind of getting a bit more into that authentic kind of engagement. But and then I guess the worry is it's literally like cash flow. Like hospo is super tight. Like even though we've got the 4, you know, like we've essentially had to take out like loans at the end of each year to keep paying wages and stuff like that. So it's a pretty full on industry. And the margins are definitely slim. So it's but I mean that's the thing I think with hospitality is that if you're not in it for the passion and for like the reward of seeing people enjoying your product and stuff like that, then like that's where you're going to start struggling, because it is an industry where you have to be like emotionally invested into it, or else it's just going to tear you down.
Kick you in the ass.
And I mean that, you know, it does make it hard because you're so passionate about it that, you know, like you don't want to make mistakes. And I guess that's why it takes us quite a long time to kind of, I guess, get new drinks out or get new baristas trained up and stuff like that. It's just because we are so like, and when you've got 4 stores now, it's like, all right, they all have to have the same consistency of quality and stuff like that. So it's trying to like get that all across the board.
Must be tough, man. You're juggling so many different plates. And just picking up what you're saying around the because it sounds like a branding thing. We don't want people to lose like the ethos of the swimsuit sort of culture as you sort of expand and grow. Do you think any of those feelings are like somewhat embedded by like tall poppy syndrome? Do you think it's like I think it's noticeable in New Zealand for sure. I do think that like you can surround yourself with positive people for sure, but there's always that kind of like, I mean, as I said before, every time I've opened a shop, someone's joked to me saying that, oh, I'm selling out, or you're franchising, or kind of whatever. But it's you know, for me, like, why would I just get complacent and do the same thing? You know, like I get itchy feet. I want to keep growing. I want to keep challenging myself and stuff like that. And so like growing more cafes isn't me selling out. It's just me challenging myself and like, I guess spreading the good quality coffee. I don't know. Like I just want everyone to drink good coffee. And so it's a fine balance. I mean, Mojo, you know, they opened up heaps of shops, and they opened them up in a lot of the bottom of like office blocks, which is like, you know, it's a fine kind of way about going about it. But I guess for swimsuit, it's about communities, servicing the communities that it's in. And so if it was to interfere with like another one, like Lombard and Dixon are quite close, but they serve completely different markif it's so interesting, because it's literally like a 2-minute walk.
So like that was a bit of a worry because it was quite close, but if the community around it is being served, then we won't be doing anything else in that kind of area. And you know, we have done a lot of growth in a short amount of time with not much resource.
2019, man, like that wasn't long ago when you first started the one up on Dixon.
Yeah. So it's been pretty all go, and so I guess like now we're at a point where if we were to open another shop, we would be on a pretty fine line in terms of like just everything kind of falling apart, So yeah, I think because we've got this new kitchen and like all that, like the cafes at the moment, we're probably doing 70 to 80% of what we could be doing out of them, and so we're really wanting to just like focus on the cafes, get the product good, get the vibes right, get everyone trained up, just yeah. So we're just gonna just get that all set up.
You had the goal earlier around when you were first starting up Swimsuit, when you were like 24 or so, to have 3 cafes by the time you were 30. Smash that. Have you got any long-term goals for how many cafes you want by the time you're 40?
By the time I'm 40, yeah, it's an interesting one. We're not too sure. It's hard because I was having a chat with Jeff Marsland from Havana Coffee a while back, and it was just quite funny because he was going, "Oh, you don't want to open cafes because then you've got HR issues and staffing issues and equipment failures, all that kind of stuff." And so then I was like, "Okay, well, what should I get into roasting?" And then he was like, "Nah, you don't want to get into roasting. Like, there's no profit in it until you're doing like a ton a day,
Yeah.
So then I was kind of like, well, what do I do? so yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I guess for me, like, it's like, I guess there's goals. So like, if we can get to half a ton of coffee a week, that probably means that we can start roasting it ourselves. There's kind of like steps there, like we got 4 cafes. Then we're like, okay, we can probably do our scones in-house now to warrant the equipment and stuff like that. So, I guess for me, it's just kind of like figuring out exactly what we want to get out to the public. We do want to go national as a goal. I guess like a long-term goal for me is like we want to turn into like a coffee company, someone like Supreme, for example, and get into that whole kind of realm of it, and become super well known for like training and upskilling and like that kind of side of stuff as well. Like having a really solid training plan and stuff like that for the staff is something that I want to be well known for. So we do want to spread to a more national scale, and we do want to increase our coffee kind of like output. Like we want to bring our own bags and stuff like that out, and get the website really kind of cranking. Hopefully.
Looking forward to seeing what happens when you're 40. It sounds crazy even to say that. Like, what the hell, eh?
It's crazy, yeah.
But no doubt it's going to happen a lot earlier.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So you were also diagnosed with ADHD last year, was it?
Yeah. Pretty late last year, actually. It was pretty interesting. I had a bit of a feeling.
Did that? Like talk us about I guess, did that like unlock anything for you? Like having the diagnosis, like did that make more sense in how you like structure your days and just do life now?
Yeah, because there's just a lot of things where I was kind of questioning. Like I can get super fixated on stuff. I can't listen to Welly talking to me sometimes. Like I couldn't focus for very long periods of time, and because I was going out of this practical job where I just knew that I just had to make coffee every day, it kind of went into this job where there was heaps of variables, and like you have to kind of be switched on into what you're doing there. And so, I've never managed to, like, my room at home's always been a bit of a mess. Like it's always been a bit of a struggle just to kind of get my everyday life stuff sorted. And it was just struggle. Like Welly was noticing it, I wasn't getting jobs done. I wasn't feeling productive, but my brain was going nuts. So it was quite like, it was pretty like, I don't know. I just felt like I had it for a while, and then I spent like a couple of years just not doing anything about it, and then just decided to finally book. I mean, it took 6 months to get an appointment, and like $1,200 for the appointment. But I think it was nice to know that that was the case. And it wasn't necessarily just so I could get medicated for it. It was more just so then I can be like, oh, okay, that's
Explains it.
why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Or, so there's like, but then it's like, okay, now you know that, then you have to put your own motivation and effort into trying to like change that, which can be quite a struggle as well. So, it's quite hard. I'm quite a routine kind of person. So like to get out of like a certain routine is quite like takes a bit of time. And like I crash in the afternoons a bit, and so the big thing for me is just trying to be able to see the whole day out without like kind of losing my focus. I find it really hard to switch my hats. So like working in the cafe in the morning and then having to go to computer work is like really hard for me to do. I need to like go and like jump in the ocean to like reset or something like that. So it's been interesting with the ADHD one. It's definitely giving me more of like an idea on like how to be better with stuff. Like I've started journaling this year and trying to like plan my weeks out more in advance and like incorporating my personal things into my like day planner for work as well. Like put a load of washing on Wednesday, like just those reminders and stuff. And it's about like, accepting that like if I was to have a meeting with someone, like it's all good if I just pace and walk up and down the room instead of sitting down. Cause like, I'm not going to listen if I'm sitting down. I need to like, so it's like, it's about accepting that like there's certain things that you do to make yourself focus better and stuff like that, that might seem weird, but it helps me,
You're doing a pretty bloody awesome job, man. Sitting down with this episode. Also at like 8 p.m. on a Wednesday again.
Sweet.
Do you think there's any like strengths to your ADHD? Like if you look at it not just from like the challenges, like are there strengths in the way that you sort of operate your business?
Yeah, I think there is. Like when I get when I know what I want to do or get stuff done, like I'm pretty keen to get it done. And like when I want to focus on something and stuff like that I'm into, like I get really into it. I guess the other thing though is that like for me, I'm like in terms of the coffee side of stuff, like I think that's why in a way our coffee is quite good. It's because I am like quite particular. Like it's everything from like how you pour the coffee so that the handle is on the right side.
True.
Most people are right-handed, for example, and then like the teaspoon's like placed a certain angle underneath the saucer, and we have like a cloth that we wipe. And it's just like the small things that like I can get quite like agitated about. But I think that's why we do pretty well with our coffee product and stuff like that. I think it's like it's a good one. I mean I like my brain kind of going nuts at night, thinking of all these weird ideas and stuff like that. It's quite like, I think it's good, but at the same time, it's just being aware of like, okay, am I being productive for work and for like Welly? Am I helping mutually with him and stuff like that? And so I think it's given me the energy to achieve what we've achieved.
And how do you look after your mental health at the same time, especially with 4 cafes, production kitchen, 22 staff? I'm sure there's lots of different demanding priorities at like any given time. So like mentally, bro, how do you keep on top of things?
It can be up and down. Like last year was super full on for me. I mean, generally, I'm a pretty happy person. Like, when I got diagnosed with ADHD, like I'm a happy guy, like, which is great, and I'm proud of that. But there's definitely peaks and troughs of running the business, feeling like it's nonstop and stuff like that. I guess I'm still living at the family home with Dad, just because, just still at home. So it's kind of nice to have that space there. But for me, like I've got some pretty close friends that live down the road from me, and we catch up like once a week, go around the bay and just go try look for blue penguins or something. And then I'm pretty I guess I'm pretty good at just letting it out to them, which is great. It's good having friends that are like that. And Welly and I are quite open as well. we're going through the same stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I reach out to like other business owners that are in the industry. It's quite nice having like a bit of a crew who knows what we're going through and that you can go and talk to. And because we are quite like I'm not like young now, but like because like I guess for me, like I'm happy to reach out to people that I haven't talked to in years for advice or for stuff like that. And so if there is an issue that's stressing me out at work or something like that I haven't dealt with before, you know, I can call up like another coffee shop or you know, and so that I guess for me as well is trying to get that balance with like a bit better, the work-life balance. It's pretty hard in hospo. Even just drinking water is quite hard. And then like just kind of like knowing that there is just constantly stuff to do. I guess like you get overwhelmed with the amount of jobs coming in, but it's knowing and learning to switch off and just like not worry about it until the next day or something like that, you know, which was quite hard for me to do at the start. But now that there is just constantly stuff going on, you've just got to learn to switch off at certain points, which is still a work in progress. But yeah, it's feeling pretty good. I'm quite aware, I think, of how I feel and stuff like that. And as I said, like I do probably tell my mates a bit about how I'm feeling and stuff like that as well. So it's a good crew that we've got around. We're definitely not like trying to bottle stuff up.
That's good.
And it's like a big part of the company. Like, you know, if you bottle stuff up, then that's going to explode at one point. So it's like getting those kind of things out nice and early. Yeah.
It's good to hear, bro, because I mean, like so many, especially like young men, like we just bottle shit up. And then it comes to a point where you're like feeling so fucking down or just over stuff. And that's like really the breaking point for so many people, so to have friends you can sort of like lean on and actually just like talk through with your emotions, or other people that are going through the same stresses, whether it being like, you know, business or life, is so important, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure, man. So it was definitely been pretty wild. Like, I mean, you know, I got anxiety when probably 2 years into swimsuit, but didn't know what it was. So I was kind of
like a panic attack or anything?
No,
like
I
what?
kind of was like lump in my stomach, and I was like, and then I went to my mate from C2, and I was like, I just got this like lump in my stomach, like I just can't get rid of it. And then he was like, I think it might be anxiety. And then that's like kind of like, but then I was like, oh, okay, so now I know what it is, so now I can like kind of deal with it, you know. But if I just kept it to myself, then I would probably still be feeling that way and like not know what's going on, you know. So I'm happy to be quite like open about like how I'm feeling. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. Hey, we got some quick fire questions that we'll run through, and then we'll finish up with a quote. But
cool.
Just want to say massive thanks, Tait. Thanks for jumping on the pod, and awesome to help like share your story. I think what you've achieved is it's incredible, bro.
Thanks, bro.
It's awesome, and hopefully more people can listen to this. Check out your shops across Welly, and support the vision. There's also a pair of Moana Road Sunnies that we give each of our guests from our sponsor. Shout out. So those are all yours.
Man.
Awesome. Before we go to the quick fire questions, where can people keep in touch with you and your mahi, man?
So Instagram is pretty popular for us, the Swimsuit Coffee. Even if you just want to reach out to me or from a personal level, I'm pretty happy with answering questions or giving out advice or whatever. I'm keen to network. So Tait Burge is my name as well. So if you want to reach out about anything, hit me up.
We're a pretty big podcast, bro, so you're going to regret saying that. No.
That's that.
Everyone just spammed Tait's Insta, make us look like we're way bigger than okay, bro, what brings you true happiness?
True happiness. Seeing people happy is a big thing for me. I like seeing our staff happy at work. It's super rewarding seeing like the retention that we have. You know, staff with us stay up for a long time. That's super like good to see. I don't know. I'm just like, it's interesting. You know, like I'm just keen to keep kind of winging it, seeing where we go. As I said, like, you know, I didn't have really a direction at school and stuff. So we're just kind of gonna keep on going.
What is the meaning of life?
Meaning of life. That's a big one.
It's a huge question.
Yeah. Meaning of life. I think it would just be fulfilling your passions, really. Like, you know, if you're passionate about something in particular that no one else is, doesn't matter. If that's fulfilling your life, then go for it.
Advice you wish you knew about when you were younger?
Advice I wish when I was younger, probably a bit more like money knowledge stuff. Maybe trying to like save would be pretty awesome. And then probably just more gearing up towards getting out of school, I think would have been quite good in terms of I think, was there something else that I was just thinking about the other day. I was like, damn, I wish I knew that when I was younger.
It's like a regular thing for me. I'm like, damn, I wish I knew that.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't think of it. But yeah, it's yeah.
What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy is probably going to be like the positive impact that you leave on people. Whether you kind of do an experience or, you know, help like an individual person or multiple people. I think just like if you've done anything to help someone else, then you're leaving a legacy. Yeah.
If you could change one thing in New Zealand, what would this be?
I just want everyone to gas everyone up and support everyone and get everyone just doing cool shit.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. I think that'd be awesome.
And what do you believe is the main thing that's holding back young people in New Zealand?
I think it's quite a daunting kind of thing to get into. So having more support around knowing that, you know, if it isn't going to work out, you're going to be okay. Stuff like that. Getting more council support, getting more landlords involved with helping lease these sites in town, you know, and getting like just making it more attractive for them to actually give it a go, and like not having it so they had to sign these 3-year long leases and stuff like that. We need to have this kind of entry level thing where people can test out what they're wanting to do, and if it works, then you know, move into a full-time tenancy. I guess. Yeah,
I like that, man. That's good. Cheers, bro. Really appreciate your time, and this has been awesome. Debut podcast. How good?
Podcast. Hopefully, hopefully I passed test.
Yeah, man. A+. We'll finish with a quote. This is from Herman Hesse, who's a poet and novelist. It's really short and sweet. I thought it was quite fitting. Learn what is to be taken seriously and laugh at the rest.